In this video, I do a comprehensive set of scientific tests on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. First, I test the quality of the sleep tracking against a scientific EEG monitor. Second, I'll check the heart rate accuracy. Third, I'll take a look at the blood pressure monitor. Fourth, I'll evaluate the SpO2 measurements. And finally, I do a step counting test. As always, I do not want to waste your time, so timestamps are in the description below and also on the timeline. Hello everyone. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Rob and I'm a postdoctoral scientist specializing in biological data analysis. Now, before getting to the test, I'd like to provide the most important background information on the Galaxy Watch 4 in under 45 seconds. The Galaxy Watch 4 now features the new Google Wear OS. The watch can monitor your heart rate, oxygen saturation, takes ECGs, measures blood pressure and reads body composition. Now, I own the normal Galaxy Watch 4, but there's also a Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. As far as I'm aware, there's no difference in features between the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 and the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. You'll experience the same user experience no matter which smartwatch you go with. The main difference is in design, material, and total battery life. So I suspect that all the tests that I do in this video will also transfer to the Classic version, though of course I cannot be 100% sure. It's important to know that if you own an iPhone, the Galaxy Watch 4 won't work with it. The watch is compatible with all modern Android devices. However, you'll need to own a Samsung smartwatch in order to access some of the features, such as the blood pressure and ECG measurements. I actually bought two new Samsung Galaxy phones specifically to be able to test the blood pressure monitor, one for the Galaxy Watch 4 and one for the Galaxy Watch 3. However, my channel is not so much about listing features. Instead, on my channel, I try to test the accuracy of different measurements. Over the last few weeks, the Galaxy Watch 4 has been the most requested device. In this video, I'll do a set of scientific tests. And since I'm in a unique position to test the accuracy of the sleep tracking algorithm, I want to start off with the sleep test. For the sleep comparison, I wore the Galaxy Watch 4 to bed for 4 nights. And at the same time, I also wore this portable scientific EEG device and I recorded myself using an infrared camera. The EEG device can actually measure your brainwaves and muscle movements and is therefore ideal for measuring your sleep stages. I manually went through the recording of the EEG and scored each part of the night for the different sleep stages. I also exported the data from the Galaxy Watch and loaded it into the coding language I use. Now, to the results I obtained. Let's first have a look at the accuracy over the 4 individual nights, after which I'll do a statistical overview analysis. Here we see the first night I recorded. On top, you see the sleep stages as they were recorded using the EEG device. Along the horizontal axis, we have the time of night, and as you can see, I went to bed after midnight. On the vertical axis, we have the different sleep stages, that being deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, and awake. The sleep stages are plotted in the same order that they're usually displayed in research. On the bottom, you can see a similar plot, but now for the sleep stages as they were recorded using the Galaxy Watch 4. If we first look at deep sleep according to the EEG, which I marked here in purple, we see a poor overlap between the Galaxy Watch 4 and the EEG device. The Galaxy Watch 4 basically detected no deep sleep for this night, only a very short segment right here. In general, it's not very likely that I had this little deep sleep. Next, if we look at light sleep, marked here in cyan, this was detected okay. Most light sleep I had was indeed detected as light sleep, though it seems sometimes that what was light sleep was also detected as awake time by the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. Next, looking at REM sleep, marked here in red, this seems to be a bit hit and miss for this night. About half the REM sleep I had seems to be detected correctly, but a lot seems to be missing or misclassified as well. To see the sleep cycles, I added non-REM sleep in blue and again marked REM sleep in red. Each sleep cycle starts with a combination of deep sleep and light sleep together called non-REM and always ends in REM. I would say that based on just the data from the Galaxy Watch 4, I would be able to see about half the sleep cycles, at least those in the second half of the night. But the ones in the first half of the night I would not be able to see. Looking at awake detection marked here in green, this was not very good. The Galaxy Watch detected a lot of extra awake moments that were not really there. Additionally, it did not detect the awake moments I did have for this night. Detecting the moment I fell asleep was slightly delayed, as you can see here on the left. It was also pretty bad at detecting the moment I woke up. At the end of the night, I had awake moments that were interspersed with sleep, but the Galaxy Watch detected it as all as being awake. Here we see the second night I recorded. As you can see, deep sleep was pretty much spot on for this night, with the Galaxy Watch 4 detecting both deep sleep segments correctly. Light sleep detection was also okay, though the watch did detect a lot of awake moments while I was having light sleep. REM sleep detection was pretty bad for this night, with the Galaxy Watch detecting almost no REM sleep for the entire night. Most of the REM sleep I actually had was detected as awake time or light sleep. This also means that it's pretty much impossible to see the sleep cycles for this night. Awake detection was a bit better for this night, with most of the awake moments I had being correctly detected. However, again, a lot of extra awake time was detected. Detecting the moment I fell asleep and the moment I woke up was a bit better for this night than for the night before. Now I actually tracked 2 more nights. The third night was more or less a mix between the first and second night when it comes to accuracy, as you can see here. Instead of showing you all the details for these nights, I want to highlight one important problem I encountered with the Galaxy Watch 4. And that problem is mainly visible for this fourth night here. You can see that it basically stopped recording my sleep in the middle of the night. I indeed woke up around this moment, used the bathroom and went back to sleep. However, after that the watch was not able to record a detailed sleep analysis anymore. Instead, as you can see in the app, you get 3 sleep stages called restless, light and motionless. For one of the other nights, the watch actually stopped recording sleep entirely after I'd used the bathroom in the middle of the night, as you can see in the app right here. So far, I'm not very happy with the sleep tracking of the Galaxy Watch 4. For each of the different nights, it had difficulty with several sleep stages. Also, detecting the moment I woke up and fell asleep was sometimes okay, but sometimes significantly or even wildly wrong. To get an even more objective view of the results, let's calculate some statistics regarding the consistency between the sleep stages of the Galaxy Watch and the EEG device. However, first a quick side note. If you're interested in the latest updates on the wearables I'm testing, consider subscribing to my Instagram and my weekly newsletter. Of course, you would also make me really happy if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, enough self-promotion. Let's see what the overview statistics say. First, let's look at the total percentage of each sleep stage the EEG device and the Galaxy Watch 4 predicted. Here are displayed those percentages for the EEG device on the left and the Galaxy Watch 4 on the right. As you can see, the Galaxy Watch 4 predicts about the correct amount of light sleep. However, all the other sleep stages are pretty far off. It predicted way too much awake time and way too little deep sleep and REM sleep. However, as we already saw based on the individual nights, the timing of these stages is also vital. Therefore, more important than these total percentages is checking if the Galaxy Watch 4 predicts the correct sleep stages at the right time. And that's what I displayed here. On top we have the sleep stages according to the EEG device, and on the left the sleep stages according to the Galaxy Watch 4. Now each column here sums to 100%, meaning that we can see what percentage of each of the actual sleep stages was recorded as each sleep stage by the Galaxy Watch 4. First, looking at deep sleep, we see that about 40% of what was deep sleep was also predicted as being deep sleep by the Galaxy Watch. Most deep sleep was actually predicted as being light sleep by the Galaxy Watch. A significant amount was also predicted as being awake time. This is likely because in general it appears to predict way too much awake time, as we saw before. Looking at light sleep, this is by far the best sleep stage of the Galaxy Watch 4. About 72% of what was light sleep was also correctly predicted as being light sleep. If it was confused, it was mostly confused with awake time. REM sleep was very poorly predicted, with only 32% of what was REM sleep correctly predicted as being REM sleep. Most REM sleep was predicted as light sleep or awake time by the Galaxy Watch 4. Finally, what was awake time was mostly correctly predicted as awake time, with 2/3 being correct. However, as we saw before, a lot of extra awake time was also detected. If it was confused, it was mostly confused with REM sleep. Next, let's quickly overview if the watch correctly predicted the moment I fell asleep and the moment I woke up. For now, I'll just look at the first 3 nights where it fully recorded my sleep stages, and I'll ignore the 4th night where it had these problems for the second half of the night. And here I display the results. On the vertical axis we have the dates of the nights I tested the Galaxy Watch 4, and on the horizontal axis we have the time difference between the EEG device and the Galaxy Watch 4 for waking up in yellow and falling asleep in blue. And a positive number means it detected me as waking up or falling asleep later than in reality, and a negative number means it detected me as waking up or falling asleep earlier. As you can see, the Galaxy Watch had most problems with detecting the moment I woke up. It always predicted me as waking up too early, with an extreme value of 44 minutes too early. Overall, I'm not very satisfied with the sleep tracking accuracy of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. To close this section, let's compare the results of the Galaxy Watch to those of some of the better tracking devices I tested so far. That is what I plotted here. On the top left we have the same plot as we saw before, showing the performance of the Galaxy Watch 4. On the top right we have the results for the Whoop strap. On the bottom left the results for the Fitbit Inspire 2, and on the bottom right the results for the Mi Watch. As you can see, the Galaxy Watch underperforms quite severely compared to these other watches. Especially the Fitbit Inspire 2 and the Whoop strap perform much better than the Galaxy Watch 4. But also the Mi Watch performs significantly better, though it does struggle with REM sleep. For the next set of tests, let's take a look at the heart rate accuracy of the Galaxy Watch 4. To test the heart rate accuracy, I'll compare it against the Polar H10 ECG chest strap, which is generally considered one of the most accurate consumer devices available for heart rate measurements. I wore both the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Polar H10 ECG chest strap for 5 spinning sessions, 11 bike rides, 2 longboard rides and 4 weightlifting sessions. That way I can check my heart rate at different heart rate ranges and during different levels and types of movements. Let's start with the accuracy during spinning. Here I displayed an overview of the heart rate accuracy during spinning. Each dot here is a single heart rate measurement, with along the horizontal axis the value according to the Polar H10 ECG chest strap, and along the vertical axis the value according to the Galaxy Watch 4. The blue line indicates perfect agreement, so any measurement along this line had roughly the same value for the Polar H10 and the Galaxy Watch. The red line indicates those measurements where the value according to the Galaxy Watch is half that of the actual value according to the Polar H10. The reason I added this line is because in the past I've seen that many devices measure half the actual heart rate when they make a mistake. The more measurements there are in a certain area, the darker black the color. As you can see, the Galaxy Watch performed pretty well during spinning, as almost all measurements are along the blue line. However, there are still some points away from the blue line. Let's have a look at some of the individual training sessions to see how good the match actually is. Here you can see the first spinning session. Along the horizontal axis we have the time, and my heart rate is along the vertical axis. In blue I plotted my heart rate according to the Polar H10 ECG chest strap, and in red is my heart rate according to the Galaxy Watch 4. As you can see, I took 4 short breaks in this spinning session where my heart rate would dip. In this first spinning session, the performance of the Galaxy Watch is really good. It almost perfectly overlaps with the measurements of the ECG chest strap with only minor deviations. Looking at this second training session, we see something similar, almost perfect overlap. For this third spinning session, we again see almost perfect overlap. One important thing to note though is that the number of measurements per minute stored by the Galaxy Watch is less than for other devices. I directly exported this data from the Samsung Health app, so this is actually what is stored. And I watched a couple of reviews on YouTube this week, and I believe that either Desfit or Chase's Summit mentioned that if you use the Strava app on the watch, you get a higher sampling frequency. And the other spinning sessions were also basically spot on, just this session here showed a slight deviation between 2 segments. However, this session again was basically perfect. So far, this is really good. Let's now take a look at cycling outside, which I recorded whilst commuting to and from work. If I cycle outside, there are many more bumps and I also tend to sweat a bit more in the sun, both of which might influence the accuracy of the Galaxy Watch 4. Let's take a look. Here we see an overview of the measurements during cycling. And as expected, the deviation between the Galaxy Watch and the ECG chest strap is now a bit bigger. We see more deviations both below and above the blue line. Let's take a look at some of the individual commutes to see why this is. Here we see the first cycling session. Again, in blue is the Polar chest strap and in red the Galaxy Watch 4. As you can see, the overall general patterns were sort of tracked, though there was some deviation for sure. Also, there are many missing measurements, which is why you see far fewer points in this plot. For instance, here in this segment, it did not record my heart rate for a few minutes. To be clear, I also removed my heart rate according to the chest strap for those moments that the Galaxy Watch did not detect my heart rate. Cycling back, it was again quite okay in terms of accuracy, however again it shows some missing measurements. Now this is my next day to work, and again we see okay accuracy but many missing measurements. And that's what we generally see for most bike rides. Some are better, like the one you can see here. However, some have a lot of missing data, for instance this one here. Now this was a somewhat longer road biking session. Now in the beginning here my heart rate was still quite low because one of my friends had problems with his bike. Overall the agreement is quite okay, though it does show some issues and also some missing data. This is the general pattern we see for a lot of bike rides. There's okay agreement with also some missing data sometimes. Next, let's see how the watch performed during longboarding. Now this involves slightly less movement and bumpiness compared to cycling, so I do expect this to be slightly better. Here we can see my heart rate overview during longboarding, and as you can see this also has some issues. As you can see in this overview, for some of the time the watch actually detected a too high heart rate, since there are a lot of points above the blue line here. If we look at the individual longboarding sessions, we see that the agreement was okay for this first session right here. However, as you can see, it struggled a lot more during the second session. Finally, let's see how the Galaxy Watch 4 performed during weightlifting. Now, weightlifting is notoriously difficult for wrist-worn devices because during weightlifting I flex the muscles and tendons near my wrist, and this makes it hard for a watch to actually detect the sudden changes in my heart rate. Let's take a look. Now, this is an overview of my heart rate accuracy similar to before, but now for weightlifting. Of course, the average heart rate during weightlifting is much lower than during cardio workouts. You can see that while there are a lot of points along the blue line, there's also a lot of points below the blue line, meaning that the Galaxy Watch detected a too low heart rate in these moments. Let's see if we can find out why this is based on the individual training sessions. Here we see a first example weightlifting session. Again, in blue is my heart rate according to the chest strap, and in red my heart rate according to the Galaxy Watch 4. Here you can see that there is a disagreement between both devices. The Galaxy Watch 4 is able to pick up on the general patterns in my heart rate, however it misses the peaks in my heart rate that accompany each set that I did. And we can see the same for this training session right here, where it was able to follow the general patterns but not the peaks. And again, we see the same for this training session right here. And it's basically true for all the weightlifting sessions I did. Overall, my feelings on the heart rate accuracy of the Galaxy Watch 4 are a bit mixed. During spinning it performed almost perfectly, but cycling outside gave many more problems. What is especially concerning is the amount of missing data during these rides. Now I think it's good that it does not show my heart rate if it's not sure. However, there are other watches that are able to get a clear signal without missing data, so it is possible to do better. The Galaxy Watch also did not perform well during weightlifting, but this is true for most wrist-worn devices. Next, let's take a look at the accuracy of the blood pressure monitor of the Galaxy Watch 4. Now, as I mentioned before, you do need a Samsung phone to make this work, and it doesn't appear to be available all over the world. To make it function, you need to calibrate it using a normal blood pressure monitor. As I understand it, the Galaxy Watch measures blood pressure through pulse wave analysis, which is tracked with the heart rate monitoring sensors. To test the blood pressure monitor, I measured my blood pressure several times every morning and every evening since I've received the watch. I always first sat down for about 20 minutes to make sure I did not have significant movement before making these measurements, after which I would simultaneously measure my blood pressure with the normal blood pressure monitor and the Galaxy Watch. Let's first have a look at diastolic blood pressure, which I plotted here. On the horizontal axis we have the diastolic blood pressure according to the reference device, and on the vertical axis we have the value according to the Galaxy Watch 4. Each dot is a matched measurement between both devices. The blue line indicates the best fitting line through these points. In a perfect world, all points would be along the diagonal, showing a strong positive correlation. However, in this case, there's no clear correlation between the values of the Galaxy Watch and the reference device. Next, if we look at systolic blood pressure, this is a bit better. The blue line shows a more positive correlation, and this correlation is also statistically significant, meaning that a higher value according to the reference device is associated with a higher value according to the Galaxy Watch 4. Now, before I received my Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, I already bought a Samsung Galaxy phone to pair with my Samsung Galaxy Watch 3, which can also measure my blood pressure in a similar way. Now, because I had this longer, I was able to collect more data using this device. And here I show the results for the systolic blood pressure of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3. And here you can see that the correlation is even stronger than what we saw for the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, with an even clearer association between the reference device and the Watch 3. Now, there are probably two main reasons for this. First of all, I was able to take more measurements, and second of all, there are more measurements with a high blood pressure, meaning that we have a larger range of values that it sampled from, and it's probably easier for the watch to detect the difference between a blood pressure of 110 and 140 than between 110 and 125. So I'll keep taking measurements with the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, and I expect to find something similar as what we see for the Samsung Galaxy Watch 3 here. If we go back for a second to the results of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, which we were just looking at, we see indeed that the highest blood pressure values are much lower than what we just saw for the Galaxy Watch 3. Meaning that it's less likely we find a really strong association. Though again, what we see here is statistically significant. Now, if we look at the diastolic blood pressure for the Galaxy Watch 3, we see there is a significant association because this p-value is below 0.05, but it's a really weak association. Both the Galaxy Watch 3 and the Galaxy Watch 4 perform much better for the systolic blood pressure than for the diastolic blood pressure. Overall, the blood pressure tracking of the Galaxy Watch 4 I would say is okay-ish. It is able to pick up on some patterns, but the signal is only minor or very weak for the diastolic blood pressure. If the changes in my blood pressure had been bigger, it might have been able to get a better signal. However, I honestly would not buy the Galaxy Watch for measuring your blood pressure. It's a nice gimmick, however, as we saw, it's far from perfect. And additionally, it seems that every few weeks you need to recalibrate the watch, so you do need to own a dedicated blood pressure monitor to keep using it. If you want to track your blood pressure for health reasons, I would just take daily measurements with a reliable dedicated device. However, I'll keep testing both watches to see if it improves and to see if the correlations get better with more data. Next, let's take a look at SpO2 or oxygen saturation. In really simple terms, this is the percentage of red blood cells in the bloodstream that contain oxygen. This can be important to measure because it can be used as an indication for several medical conditions. For instance, it can be used to 1. Detect sleep apnea, where you basically stop breathing for 30 seconds or more during sleep. 2. Keep track of lung diseases. And 3. Potentially detect respiratory infections such as COVID-19. In all these cases, your blood oxygen saturation can drop to anywhere from the low 90% to 60%. Normal ranges, on the other hand, are generally between 95 and 100%. If possible, I always try to test if an SpO2 monitor can detect a low oxygen saturation. The way I can get a consistently low SpO2 is by measuring it in flight. Whilst flying, the air pressure in the cabin drops, thereby leading to a lower concentration of oxygen, leading to lower SpO2 levels. However, ever since I've owned the Galaxy Watch, I've not taken any flights. So instead, I tested if the Galaxy Watch detected a low oxygen saturation when it was not supposed to. I did this by measuring my SpO2 in the morning and evening at ground level. In total, I took 52 different measurements. At the same time, I also took a measurement with a dedicated SpO2 monitor. The Galaxy Watch uses what is called reflectance pulse oximetry, basically shining light on your skin and measuring the reflected light. The dedicated SpO2 monitor uses the more established transmittance pulse oximetry, which shines light at one side of your finger and measures what comes through on the other side. Transmittance pulse oximetry is generally considered more accurate and is used in hospitals around the world. Let's have a look at my results. Let's take a look at the spread of values obtained with the Galaxy Watch on the left and the finger pulse oximeter on the right. As you can see, the spread in values for the Galaxy Watch is much larger than the spread for the values of the finger pulse oximeter. The finger pulse oximeter always has values roughly between 97 and 99%, whereas the values for the Galaxy Watch drop to much lower values and the spread is much bigger, and there are even some values below 95%. It's difficult to make a final judgment of the Galaxy Watch 4's SpO2 accuracy since I could not test it in a low oxygen environment. What I can say is that the watch sometimes detects a lower oxygen saturation when it's not supposed to, though most of the time it was in the expected range. The Galaxy Watch also features a step counter. To see if this counts my steps accurately, I went out and took exactly 4,000 steps in segments of 1,000 steps. To get an accurate step count, I manually counted my steps using this tally counter. Let's take a look at the results. As I mentioned, for the step counting test, I went out and took 4 times exactly 1,000 steps. I wore the Galaxy Watch on my left arm and I alternated holding the tally counter in my left and right hand for each set of 1,000 steps, which is what the right and left labels refer to here. Now these are the actual steps counted by the Galaxy Watch 4 when I was wearing it on my left arm. As you can see, these values were really close to the actual 1,000 steps I took in each of the 4 segments. However, I did always undercount the number of steps I took by about 10 to 40 steps. Now just to put it into perspective, here are the steps counted by the Huawei Watch 3 I wore at the same time. As you can see, they generally performed about equally well. However, the Galaxy Watch 4 tends to undercount my steps and the Huawei Watch 3 tends to overcount them. Overall, I'm honestly not that satisfied with the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4. The sleep tracking was pretty bad, with only light sleep being tracked okay. The watch detected way too much awake time and sometimes missed tracking part of my night. The heart rate tracking was okay when it comes to overall accuracy, though there were a lot of missing values, especially while riding my bike. The blood pressure monitor appears to work okay for systolic blood pressure, though less so for diastolic blood pressure. And the fact that the watch needs to be recalibrated every few weeks with a normal blood pressure monitor makes the functionality a lot less useful, since you need to own a normal blood pressure monitor anyway. The SpO2 values were sometimes quite low compared to the reference device, and the step counting was okay, though it did tend to undercount my steps. So, should you buy the Galaxy Watch? Well, I would personally not recommend it. If you want a relatively cheap but still beautiful full-fledged smartwatch, I would recommend a Mi Watch. If you want a wrist-worn wearable that tracks your heart rate and SpO2 accurately under most circumstances, then you should get an Apple Watch. If you want the best sleep tracking from a watch, get a Fitbit device like the Fitbit Luxe, Fitbit Sense or Fitbit Inspire 2. The Withings sleep analyzer which you put under your mattress also performs reasonably well. The Whoop strap has good heart rate tracking and also good sleep tracking. However, you pay a monthly fee for the Whoop strap, so it can be significantly more expensive compared to some of the cheaper watches. Finally, I should mention some of the limitations of the data that I showed here. First of all, I just tested the watch for a limited number of days and just on me, and it will be interesting to see how it performs on others. Specifically, it'd be really cool to see how it performs on a different gender or people suffering from certain medical conditions. Also, to do a full sleep comparison, it would be good to also test the watch against a full scientific polysomnography setup. In my videos, I do scientific tests on different devices like the Oura Ring, the Fitbit, and the Scanwatch. And in the end, I hope to use tracking to improve my life. So if you like that subject and like this video, consider subscribing to my channel and also consider giving it a thumbs up because it makes it easier for other people to find my videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing to my channel and also watch some of my other videos.